Hi, and welcome to Avalon Springs Farm, first video of this series for the Maryland Sheep and Wool Virtual Festival. In this video, I'm going to talk mostly about or almost entirely about my Pendragon yarn, but I'm also going to talk about my dye work application to the yarn so that when people are shopping at my site, they understand the descriptions and what that means. I'm going to start with this collection first. This is the standard Pendragon yarn where it all began. This is the fingering weight. It's so popular. Pendragon yarn has its name because it is a commercial base made from superwash merino wool. For those of you that don't know that term, but that's probably very few, superwash is a process by which they take the merino wool and through a thermochemical process, they make it so that it can go in your washing machine and still hold its shape. I suggest that people, if they do use their washing machine, use the gentle cycle and cool and still probably lay it flat to dry, because your handwork is in the yarn by the time it's a finished project. But in the meantime, it is superwash merino, and this is my fingering collection. You can see from the first yarn, this one, that this is what I am calling a semi-solid or even a solid. The yarn has been put into a dye bath and completely submerged, and usually with just that one dye color. People ask me, what kinds of dyes do I use? Do I use natural dyes or acid dyes? So mostly I use acid dyes. I have used a little of other things like dyes for cotton or natural dyes, but I love the variety that you get with the acid dyes. I don't stick with just one company. I do also mix some of my own unique colors. And here's an example of a semi-solid. The next one is this one. Oh, you know what? I should probably tell you the name of this one. This one is called Velvet Cloak, and this color is repeatable because I know what I did and I can do it again. This one is called By the Lion's Sight. And this is a little less repeatable. I mean, I can do it. It may look slightly different. It is not ever going to be exactly that skein, but it can be that combination of colors. This one is what I call a variegated dye job, and the colors in this case sort of gently move from one to another. There aren't a hard break in color, but there are distinct enough colors that you can call this strand purple and this strand blue and this strand green for a while. The next one, and this is not quite a semi-solid, but this is what I call, but it's like it in that it really casts one overall color, but there's highlights and lowlights of another color. Darn it, we're outside and little things are happening. Anyway, the reason that I call this a tonally dyed is for those tints and shades and hues of other colors that are in this skein. If you can see, it's got a little bit of teal, it's got a little bit of sort of a steely blue, even a little bit of kind of a periwinkle purple that are mixed in. And so it's like the semi-solid in that there are intensity of color variations. It's not a commercial single color yarn, but this one is sort of a bridge between these first two, in that it has more than just one color in there. So this is what I would on my website call a tonally dyed, a semi-solid, a variegated, and a tonally dyed. Moving right along, my version of speckled yarn. Oh my goodness, speckled was all the rage and kind of still is. And at first I resisted, and then I took the plunge and I had a lot of fun, and now I really love it. I kind of tease people and say that my version of speckled yarn is a little bit like pointillism in art. I love to color the entire skein of yarn. I don't mind working with white as a color factor, but I want, when you get the yarn, you to be getting, you know, the full rich spectrum of color all on your yarn. So my speckled yarns vary from little tiny little marks to full-on little dabs of color. I don't use just one technique for the application of speckle, but I do have a lot of fun. Okay, and moving right along, and this is kind of an evolution, I must say. Moving right along is this last skein, and this colorway is called Mother Earth Loves. This is the newest dye technique that I offer in the Pendragon fingering, and this is transitionally dyed, meaning that of the colors that you can see, the gold, the turquoise, the sort of mauve-y color, the gray, and I would say then a kind of maybe a periwinkle and a navy blue. There's about 7 distinct colors there, and there's probably about 50 yards to 70 yards continuously of a color. So you have 50 yards of this gold color before it moves into the next one. And, you know, as it gets knit up, different knitters may interpret that somewhere between 50 and 70, depending on how you break the color up between 2 distinct colors, if you count that as a third tertiary color in between. But long color transitions. Now, that is the collection of the fingering. On this side of the table, I have also new to announce several new weights of yarn that I also call Pendragon. The entire collection is called Pendragon because the entire collection is created from 100% superwash merino. And my entrance into this profession is based on owning the animals, as you see behind me. In other videos and occasions, I love to talk about the animals and making things from the animals. This time, I'm talking about really doing the artwork and just occasionally referencing the animals. But since that is my anchor point into this field, if you make a yarn, you usually define one yarn from another, from the production end, as the ingredients that you put in it, like the difference between a yellow cake and a chocolate cake. So this is all the superwash merino, so even though the weights are different, it's all one yarn base to me. The next, after the fingering, the next yarn weight that I offer it in is in sport, and that's kind of new. This example is of, you can see, work like a SemiSolid, but also with a little speckling and a little tonal dyeing thrown in. So it's, again, an evolutionary process on my dye work. The next yarn weight, oh goodness, we have animals all over this farm, and I think 2 of our little farm cats had a tiff right there. Anyway, this weight is the DK weight, also very new, and I've just started selling this, and here's an example of it in another speckled yarn. This colorway is called Looking Out My Back Door, which means that it is one of my exclusive colorways for the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, because all of my exclusives this year are named for things that were meaningful to me in the period of our lives that we're all sheltering in place. So, and that's on the website too. The next yarn weight that I offer the Pendragon in is this worsted weight. This has also become really, really popular. I'm having a hard time even stocking my store, thrilled to say. And this one is called Dwarf Treasure. And this is kind of like a rainbow of sort of jewel tones in this one. And I would call this a variegated yarn. Last but not least is my bulky. You can see this is like a number 6 bulky. This is so soft and squishy. And this is a newer yarn base that I've just started to offer in the Pendragon as well. Also 100% superwash merino. And this is an example of it like the first one, a semi-solid. And again, you can see variations in the intensity of color, but pretty much the same color. This particular colorway is called Moonless, and it is also in my web store. I would not be finished if I didn't tell you that behind me are some of the critters on our farm, and also welcome you to the new Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival virtual show online. Thank you so much for watching this video.